Welcome to the show. You watch UAP Troop 33. I'm John. I'm your host. Today, I got a good show for you. So there's these documents, right? And a lot of you probably aren't familiar with them. But I've been kind of diving deep into this, communicating with AI, and these documents are fascinating. So we're going to get into this today. So stick with me, and I guarantee you're going to be shocked at the ending because there's a prediction for 2026. And it kind of brings me back to what Chris Bledsoe said. So stay tuned. So, all right, here we go. I found something very interesting that I want to share with you guys. In the early 1960s, mysterious type letters began arriving at the homes and offices of scientists, linguists, and thinkers across Spain and later France. They were signed with the symbol and the word UMMO, allegedly sent by extraterrestrial visitors observing Earth covertly. These weren't ramblings, they were dense technical documents filled with startling advanced physics, genetics, cosmology, linguistics, and ethics. Over the next 3 decades, more than 1,300 pages would be mailed anonymously, outlining not only an alien civilization's science and philosophy, but their chilling observations of us as a species on the brink. Letters claimed that the Umites arrived in 1950 and had been monitoring Earth without direct contact due to interstellar ethical laws preventing interference. Their chosen method of communication, quiet seeding of knowledge through written documents sent only to select individuals capable of digesting them. What emerged from these letters was a sweeping view of a civilization that had mastered multidimensional physics, used a propulsion system based on space folding, communicated telepathically, and followed a society rooted in scientific rationalism based with spiritual awe of the universe. Most shocking was their discovery of the Bayodu. I'm gonna have to type it in the description, dude. A strand of 86 krypton atom pairs embedded in DNA, which encoded the entire potential evolutionary path of life across the universe, triggered not by dense mutations, but by environmental resonance. This was evolutionary design on a cosmic scale. Many recipients were stunned. How could a hoaxer invent detailed biogenetic mechanisms that mirrored epigenetic science decades before it was accepted? See, that's the key. Like, this stuff was sent and it was saying things that were turning out to be true over time, which was stunning to the people who were involved with this case. And being as though it wasn't happening in the United States, it didn't get a lot of airplay. Not a lot of people were hip to it. So back to what I was saying. How could a hoaxer invent detailed biogenetic mechanisms that mirrored epigenetic science decades before it was accepted, or reference the 21 centimeter hydrogen line as the universal signal of intelligent life before it was adopted by SETI? So this was referencing ways to figure out signals from intelligent life from space before SETI had even adopted this. It was like decades ahead of the discovery. The Umites spoke of a physics based on this. The Umites spoke of a physics based on IBOZOOUU, a point based multi-dimensional geometry that eerily aligns with today's fringe quantum gravity model. They mocked Earth's concept of spin. They mocked Earth's concept of spin in quantum mechanics and outlined an elegant alternative structure of atomic behavior that has only recently been touched upon in cutting edge theoretical physics. I know, it's a lot. These weren't vague metaphysical ideas. These were precise, detailed, sometimes hauntingly accurate. In the 1990s, a Spanish man named Jose Luis Jordan Pena claimed responsibility, saying it was a social experiment. But the math didn't add up. Pena had no scientific training, and experts who analyzed the letters noted internal consistency, terminological precision, and scientific foresight beyond Pena's admitted capabilities. More damning, the letters continued to arrive even after his confession. Letters that contained information Pena couldn't possibly have accessed. Crazy, right? It is crazy. I mean, could it have been a hoax? Many believe Pena was a disinformation agent or a pawn used to discredit something far bigger. So, what are we left with? A massive, decades long effort, highly technical, precise, and strangely prophetic, delivered to a handful of chosen minds, never seeking fame, never asking for money, and often revealing truths only confirmed years later. But if it's not a hoax, then someone out there is watching us, quietly guiding, gently warning, and waiting to see if we wake up before it's too late. Dang, man. So then I got this link that the person sent, and so I ran it past AI because I had to get it translated into English. I had AI give me a brief summary of what this document that was sent was saying. And here's a brief translated summary. This document outlines the biogenetic foundations of living beings in the universe, exploring how mutations shape the development of species. It introduces the concept of OEMI, which is OEMII, which seems to refer to humans. So they refer to us as OEMI, discussing their neurodevelopment and evolutionary trajectory. It also delves into political structure, comparing Earth systems to those of UMMO. Key focus is the discovery of atoms of krypton in human genetic material, which supposedly encode evolutionary possibilities. The authors claim that these encoded instructions and guide the transformation of species over time, ensuring progressive evolution rather than degeneration. Let me say that again. The authors claim that these encoded instructions guide the transformation of species over time, ensuring progressive evolution rather than degeneration. So they implanted something in our genetic material in order to ensure evolution and guide our transformation over time, ensuring progressive evolution rather than degeneration. That's deep. The Umites, the supposed extraterrestrial originators of these ideas, propose that life across the universe evolves in a predetermined fashion, influenced by specific atomic interactions rather than random mutations. So this is a galaxy wide, universe wide thing. Maybe life isn't just a chance anomaly, but it's more common than we think. This would mean that the human genetic material carries an intrinsic roadmap for development, triggered by external environmental stimuli rather than spontaneous genetic errors. So I had him elaborate on this Bayadu concept um, of the UMO documents. It is described as a strand of 86 pairs of krypton atoms embedded in human DNA. AI just keeps telling me the same thing over and over about this DNA. Predetermined evolutionary path of our evolution of our species. This environmental activation instead of spontaneous mutations. This biodo reacts to environmental conditions, signaling when evolutionary leaps should occur. So basically, our evolution is more directed than what we traditionally believe. And universal application, the concept proposes that similar structures exist in extraterrestrial beings, meaning life forms across the universe might be advancing through the same encoded genetic cosmic principle. Idea evolutionary encoding within atom structures is radically different from mainstream genetics, but it bears an eerie resemblance to epigenetics, which explores how environmental factors influence gene expression. So, look, I'm not a geneticist, I'm not a microbiologist, I don't really know a lot about this, but it would make you think like, when the CIA went to Gary Nolan, right, who is a microbiologist, who is into the genetics and stuff, the study of genes and bacteriologists and whatnot, it would make sense that they would seek somebody out like that with that type of knowledge, right? And you look at like the Soul Foundation and the people that are involved in that, right? So you have these people that are high up in economics and corporations, and then you have these scientists at the lower level and these physicists and that are all coming out and pretty much doing a controlled disclosure, right? And how this stuff is gradually leaking out, and that they're preparing us, according to these documents, these UMMO documents, they're preparing us for something that's supposed to happen in 2026. And then that brings me back to Chris Bledsoe, and the Star Regulus. So Chris Bledsoe, those of you who don't know, he's this experiencer, and he can make orbs appear, and people, he'll have these gatherings on beaches and whatnot with hundreds of people, and boom, these orbs appear for him, and he's had this experience with a being that he calls the lady, who was this blonde-haired, small, beautiful woman in a dress that he calls the lady, and how she gave him this uh, pretty much prophecy that when the star Regulus rises over the Sphinx in Egypt, suppose this is supposed to happen Easter, right around Easter of 2026, that there would become a new knowledge on the earth. And I'm connecting it to these UMO documents that have been around since the 60s. And not only did these documents predict these genetic things and quantum physics ideas that ended up becoming true decades later, but they're also predicting something happening in 2026 along with the Chris Bledsoe prediction. So it's very fascinating case. I want you guys to watch this clip.
On a simple friendly visit. The UMMOs claim to be aware of at least 77 distinct extraterrestrial civilizations, 31 of which have achieved interstellar travel. Of those, at least 23 have visited Earth at some point.
23. Okay, now that's a lot of visitors. It makes you wonder what they've seen, what they've learned about us. And if they're just observing, why? Is there some sort of galactic prime directive in place?
The UMMOs do describe a code of non-interference that many civilizations adhere to, particularly when it comes to younger, developing civilizations like ours. But they also warn of a different kind of threat, a more subtle and potentially insidious one.
Subtle and insidious. This sounds like we're moving into some serious cosmic intrigue here. What exactly are we talking about?
The UMMOs categorize civilizations not just by their technological advancement, but also by their ethical orientation. They identify 3 civilizations they classify as amoral, a chilling term that suggests a complete disregard for ethical principles.
Amoral civilizations. That sounds terrifying, even more so than an outright hostile invasion. What makes them so dangerous?
Imagine a civilization that seeks to dominate others, not through brute force, but through manipulation. They offer seemingly benevolent assistance, advanced technology solutions to pressing problems, all with the goal of gaining influence and control. Think of it as a cosmic puppet master pulling the strings from behind the scenes.
So they're playing the long game, insinuating themselves into a civilization's development and essentially turning them into puppets. That's a disturbing thought. And the UMMOs claim this is actually happening. There are civilizations out there that have fallen prey to this.
According to the UMMOs, yes. They refer to these manipulative entities as dominions. The older one, estimated to be 7 to 8 million years old, is known as the first dominion and controls 5 planets. Then there's the second dominion, younger, at 4 to 5 million years old, which has semi-colonized 6 planets.
6 planets.
For now. But they warn that we're not immune to this kind of manipulation. In fact, prevent a hostile civilization from colonizing Earth back in 1988. They describe an incident where a hostile spaceship was dematerialized over Meroe, Cameroon.
Wait, dematerialized? So like it just vanished into thin air. What kind of technology are we talking about here?
So, UMO and exopolitics, this little document I created. Observation of Earth's political systems. Let's check this one out. Documents compare Earth's political structures to those of UMO, highlighting the flaws in human governance, particularly corruption and inefficiency. UMO's societal model is based on scientific rationalism, balanced with spiritual reverence for the universe, concerns about Earth's trajectory, warning that humanity is on the brink of self destruction due to poor leadership and reckless technological advancement. I don't think we can disagree with that. Potential future contact, who might suggest that an official revelation of their presence may be possible in the near future. However, they emphasize the need to carefully manage historical testimonies to avoid contamination by misinformation. They express frustration over how UFO phenomena are often mixed with unrelated theories, making it harder for their knowledge to be taken seriously. So there's a lot of disinformation out there, is basically what they're saying. Multidimensional physics and space travel. The documents describe a space folding propulsion system that allows for interstellar travel without violating relativity. They also reference is that there's that weird ass word again. A multidimensional atomic structure that challenges conventional quantum mechanics. These concepts suggest that extraterrestrial civilizations may operate under entirely different physical laws than those understood by Earth scientists. UMMO documents remain one of the most mysterious and controversial cases in exopolitics, whether they are elaborate hoax or genuine extraterrestrial communications. They contain startlingly advanced scientific insights, some of which eerily align with modern discoveries. That's deep. That right there is deep, man. Yep. Would you like me to explore how these ideas compare to extraterrestrial contact theories? There's a lot to unpack. So now I asked about other species and immoral civilizations. The UMO documents hint at the existence of multiple extraterrestrial civilizations, some which operate under amoral principles. In other words, they're bad news. Ethical versus immoral species. Some extraterrestrial groups allegedly respect interstellar ethics, ensuring minimal interference with developing civilizations. Others are described as amoral, engaging in manipulation, genetic experimentation, and covert influence over political affairs. Shadow agreements with hidden agendas. Certain species are believed to have secret agreements with Earth's shadow governments, exchanging technology for influence. These civilizations allegedly lack ethical constraints, prioritizing their own interests over the well being of humanity. Multidimensional entities. Documents reference this Abuzo UU, a multidimensional atomic structure that suggests some extraterrestrial beings operate beyond conventional physics. This implies that certain species may exist in parallel realities, influencing human affairs in ways beyond our current understanding. Which makes me think of the whole demonic stuff, that has been around for time immemorial. It's been around all time. This demonic type thing, this influence, the jinn, Catholic, you know, Catholicism, believes in these types of things. A lot of religions, and I believe it's absolutely possible that this is what we're dealing with. The UMO version of exopolitics presents a complex interstellar landscape where ethical civilizations seek to guide humanity subtly, while amoral species may be actively shaping global events for their own benefit.
To understand them.
Absolutely.
What can we learn about them from the UMMO sources?
Well, the Umoans identify the reptilians as the first dominion. They're described as having pale white skin with an ophidian texture. Ophidian, or snake-like.
Okay.
They communicate through a whistling language,
Yes, sir.
suggesting that, the popular conception of them as
Right.
reptilian being
Yeah, the lizard people.
might be inaccurate.
Right.
The Umoans place their origin in the Orion constellation,
Okay.
specifically HD 6168 as their most populous colony.
Wow.
Interestingly, the visitors to Earth specifically come from HD 50281A.
And they've been visiting for quite some time, haven't they?
Oh, yes.
Like,
The Umoan sources indicate that the reptilians first arrived on Earth approximately 35,000 years ago,
wow, okay.
making them the oldest known visitors to our planet.
That predates any human civilization as we know it.
It certainly does.
What about the Greys? The Second Dominion.
Yes,
They're the ones that fit the classic Roswell alien image.
precisely. Small, frail appearance,
Okay.
large, dark eyes, which aligns with the typical image we see in pop culture.
Right, right.
Their communication method is quite unique. They utilize vibrating membranes in their foreheads to produce directional ultrasound waves.
So they use their foreheads to communicate.
In a sense, yes.
Wow.
And the UMMOs suggest that this has often been misinterpreted by humans as telepathy.
And what do these amoral civilizations want from Earth?
Well, the UMMO sources indicate that both the reptilians and the Greys are seeking to establish exclusive bilateral alliances with Earth.
Okay.
They offer advanced technology and knowledge in exchange for territories and surfaces.
It sounds like a tempting offer.
It does, doesn't it?
Who wouldn't want advanced technology
Right.
and solutions to our problems?
Yeah.
But what are the potential downsides to these alliances?
The UMMOs warn that these alliances could be detrimental to humanity's long-term evolution and autonomy.
Okay.
They suggest that these civilizations seek to domesticate humanity, turning us into a subservient species.
Domesticated humanity.
Yes,
And a little bit of research on my own. There's these documents, the letters D57 and D74. And, it tells you about these letters here talking about this multi-dimensional atomic structure that challenges conventional quantum mechanics. Um, really deep stuff here, man. And this is the stuff that I really enjoy seeking out, you know, because I always just want to know, where are they? Why are they here? What do they look like? What's the agenda? How many of them, different species of them are there? I think this is important.
yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking about these amoral civilizations and their objectives,
Yeah.
their interactions with Earth. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
Um, what does the future look like if humanity continues down this path of agreements and
Mhm.
alliances with them?
The UMMOs offer a stark warning.
Okay.
They describe a future where humans become
Yeah.
unemotional, healthy bodies,
Right.
essentially,
Okay.
domesticated men, serving their godlike masters for feudal rewards.
So a future where individuality and emotions are suppressed.
Yes.
Where we're basically reduced to just cogs in their machine.
That's the potential outcome the UMMOs foresee.
Wow.
They believe that, these civilizations view emotions as a weakness, a hindrance to efficiency and progress as they define it.
To the narrative. And I think that there's a gradual disclosure going on, and we're going to keep learning more. But here's the about the landings in Europe. Um, there have been several claims regarding UMO spacecraft landings, particularly in Spain and France. Madrid, Spain, in 1966 was one of the most famous alleged UMO landings. Occurred in Luce, Madrid, where witnesses reported seeing a disc-shaped craft with markings resembling the UMO symbol. And in France, in the late 20th century, some researchers claim that UMO visitors made contact with select individuals in France, providing scientific insights through anonymous letters. UMO spacecraft characteristics: strong magnetic fields around their axis of symmetry, possibly used for propulsion. That's a common thing, man. These magnetic fields inducing, lift and propulsion. Often you hear about like Mercury and stuff involved. Space folding technology allowing near instantaneous travel across vast distances, multidimensional atomic structures. We went over that. Wild, man. And there's possible hidden messages inside these documents. And there's all these people that, are checking out like the number sequences and the coordinates, uh, different symbology, and trying to decipher the codes in these letters. And being as though they're in different languages, I can't really research that as much as I would like to, because different languages, it's different types of translations. A lot of languages are just the sentences are structured differently and stuff. So I would have no way of knowing if there was a hidden message in them letters without knowing it. Okay, so this is the symbol, right? So this is the UMO symbol here, and supposedly this was found on a cave, maybe in France. See if I can't get this. So UMOism describes a series of decades-long claims that aliens from the planet UMO were communicating with persons on Earth. Most UMO information was in the form of many detailed documents and letters sent to various esoteric groups. or UFO enthusiasts. The UMMO affair was subject to much mainstream attention in France and Spain during the 1960s, though this 1970s and a degree of interest remains regarding supposedly a landing. I'm going to go over that too. Look at that. Is that real? I wonder if that's real. Well, we're looking at it, folks. Supposedly a Ummite ship, San Jose, Spain, on June 1st, 1967. That's interesting. What do you guys think of that?
Before the 20th century, alien interactions were sporadic, often interpreted through religious or mythological frameworks. By the 1940s, reports of crashed alien craft surfaced, most notably in Cape Girardeau, 1941, and Roswell, 1947, culminating in the 1954 agreement between the United States and the Greys. The exchange was simple: advanced technological knowledge in return for limited access to human biological material.
Reports of unauthorized human abductions, genetic experiments, and covert surveillance raised alarm among military officials and geopolitical leaders.
The impending shift is further complicated by the unveiling of the Orion Historical Archives. These records provide an unfiltered account of Earth's extraterrestrial past, challenging established religious narratives. The implications are staggering. Documents indicate that figures such as Abraham and Moses were directly linked to Orion visitors, with origins vastly different from traditional scripture. These revelations pose an existential threat to institutions such as the Vatican and Israeli state leadership.
Radical factions stating, the main leaders of Israel and the Vatican suddenly discovered that the roots of their beliefs are untrue. The archives also contain explicit mentions of the seraphim, describing them not as celestial beings but as advanced extraterrestrial entities, operating within a hierarchical structure that predates known human civilization.
And as these ideological battles unfold, physical colonization has already begun. Verified reports confirm that thousands of extraterrestrials are being transported to pre-designated subterranean bases across the globe.
The reality before us is undeniable. By July 2026, the framework that has governed human extraterrestrial relations for over 70 years will be upended. The Greys have consolidated power. Orion's revelations have fractured religious foundations, and large-scale settlements are already underway. The question is no longer whether this transition will happen, but how humanity will adapt to its consequences.
So I want to know what you guys think of these UMMO documents. Are they real? Are they a hoax? Was there scientific principles that were spoken about early 60s that, were later validated decades later? And that would kind of lend credibility to the whole UMMO phenomenon, right? And these warnings about these other extraterrestrial beings that are nefarious, that are trying to manipulate Earth to their own ends. These extra dimensional beings that influence us in sometimes very, very negative ways. What do you guys think? Let me know. Hit me up in the comments. We might come back to this, man. I think I'm going to research to see who might have gotten the first letter. If any of these people have come out publicly and spoken about it, I'll really be interested. The thing is, there's a language barrier, so I'm having a hard time finding that stuff, things that I can use. But we may revisit it. Let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. Share it to a friend. Share it to two friends. Watching UAP 233. Tomorrow. Peace.